hey, something's not right. I don't know what it is, but something's not right. You can
Yes,
feel it.
when we were talking about that structure, we call it matrix. I question myself: is there really freedom? You have to be in a certain grade, certain school, certain credit score, your resume, even down to your appearance sometimes, right?
Do you think a lot of people are concerned about the 2024 election?
Well, here's the thing, because I recently kind of realized, like myself, when I was years ago, when I was, not really into politics and kind of not care in a sense. And then now, why I'm so care, I realized that because before I was more like an employer, right? Employee, sorry, employee, and then now I have my own business, and I majority of the people in the United States are employee, and I somehow I have this sense that when the politic or election comes around, not many people are really participate, or they don't really care. Because as long as they receive their paycheck, you know, or they can buy their stuff, consume whatever they need, it's in the store, then they're fine. That's what I feel.
Like a 50% sale?
Yeah, yeah, sale discount, and like as long as there's toilet paper and all those things. Yeah. But when it comes to business owner and stuff, especially like you say, real estate, there's when the policy change, the rate change, the market change, all affects. So, politician will affect all everything I just mentioned in a sense. So
Right.
so I started have to, keep my eyes out, my ears open.
I know, like, many people just want to have that action. I want to do something. I want to get out there. I want to go to work. I want to go to the mall. I want to
Yeah.
go here, go there. But when you're talking about policy, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
that means okay, hold up. We're going to discuss something right now that's very important. And many times when people hear that, right away their brain shuts off. It's, oh my goodness, here we go, another boring
Topic.
listening to this person hear himself talk, right?
Yeah. Yes. And but somehow, well, because I grew up watching my own country, Taiwan's politic. This is, let's say, what, 20, 30 years ago, like at least it's 30 years ago. And it's already a mess, compares to US at that time. But US today is similar to the 30 years ago in Taiwan. Like people fight in the Congress, even physical fights. I'm sure some people might see it on TV. So yeah, you're right. So you were saying that, like, people, it's not a favorite topic, but the last, I say, what, almost 8 years, I think people getting very passionate to it. Passion, it doesn't meaning like healthy conversations sometimes, right?
Well, you mentioned real estate a few minutes ago,
Mm,
and everybody knows about houses.
mm-hmm.
If you don't live in a house, you live in an apartment,
Right,
or you share a room with someone who owns a house, right?
right.
Or your parents owned a house, your uncle, your cousin, somebody who owns a house.
Mm-hmm.
But many times you only know that, you have no knowledge of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
What's a
Okay.
mortgage?
Yeah.
What's a interest rate?
Yes.
What's this? What's that? Type of words that you use in it.
Right.
A lot of people get confused. It's like, oh no. And if you hear it the first time, you're like, I don't know. Let's go ahead and shift it over to sports, like a different category.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know the game, you
Uh-huh.
can pick any game that you don't know. And they start talking about it, it's going to bore you because you have no
Yes.
idea what they're talking about
Exactly.
at all.
That's
And
me.
fashion, art,
Yes.
literature, business, it's
Yes.
like, I don't want to hear that stuff. I just want to, go to happy hour. What time is happy hour?
I just
You
want to
know,
watch Netflix.
Sunday brunch, right?
I would just want to binge watch Netflix.
Yes. What movie did you watch this weekend? That's a topic that comes in every
Okay.
Monday. Or where did you go? What did you do? What did you buy? Instead of, did you learn anything or did you increase your, self-knowledge outside of your skill set, right?
Yeah. I kind of I share a MTG tweet, on X. Okay. And
Formerly known as
huh?
formerly
Twitter.
known as
Twitter.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
For
And
some of those people who've been gone for a whole year.
but here's a kick, because when I was like scrolling, I just scrolling towards the tweets or the videos. I rarely pay attention, like, oh, who posts this. So when I saw that video, it was like a bunch of, I don't know, it looks like refugee, not refugee, like foreign people coming to USA, and it shows the wall that Trump built. Right, back in the
Okay.
back in the 16, 17. Anyways, so I shared re-shared that video, and one of my friend got passionate about it. She said, "Oh, you are promoting, use the word promoting, reposting, MTG." When I shared that, I didn't even know who's the original person who put this content out. My purpose of sharing that is the content in that video, not who or which policy, politic group that they belong to or party they belong to. You know, so people are so sensitive now. Oh, you share this person's information or tweet or whatever, then they will categorize you into certain
Oh,
party, certain group right away. And at the same time, they might just let's say, okay, this is coming, for example, this is coming from Trump, so I don't like Trump, so whatever he said, black out, even though maybe it's whatever he said is true or reasonable, right? You get that vibe?
yes. That's a challenge that I have every day. Many times I
Yeah.
will not listen to somebody unless I know them or I like them. It's almost like you're only friends with people who think the same way as you. If
Yes.
we have a common interest, I will be your friend or you're going to be my friend.
Yes.
But if there's anything that does not agree with each other or we do not agree with each other, right away, whoever said it or whoever brought it up, I can't believe that person said that. I can't believe that person did that, which
Yes.
is normal because we're only human and we're going to make mistakes many, many times, right?
Right. And for
However, you do find some relevant information from
mhm,
what a person says to you,
right.
even though you don't agree with their personality, their
Right.
politics, their culture. Many
Hmm.
times we have, Harvard and Princeton get into an argument because you're not a Harvard man or you're not a Princeton man, you're not a Yale man. So whatever you say
Hmm.
is not going to be helpful. And what's the one on the West Coast? Uh, UCLA, USC,
Yes.
Stanford. Oh, well, you're not a Stanford grad, so I don't even think we should have lunch. It's like, what? What's going on? Little things like that. Little. You're not
Right.
a baseball fan, so I can't have lunch with you because I'm a football fan or I'm a soccer fan, I'm a tennis fan,
Hmm.
those kind of things.
Right. And well, because when I share something or spoke something, like let's say on a podcast, or when I create something as media or whatnot, it all came from my own personal experience, including a lot of the tweet or video I share. So it's my personal view, sharing with friends or fans or whatever you want to call it. And it's not necessary. Oh, I support, like in this case MTG or something, you know. But you mentioned a very very good point here that I really want to talk about for a while, because you
Okay.
just mentioned a lot of school, like you see this, you see that, and then today we call it elite, right?
Oh,
Okay, so I kind of, this past week I kind of thought about this whole elite thing, and I noticed, like, I don't know how many decades, if you notice, like, okay, so when we born, and especially I believe every country they give you a serial number. In this country it's called social security number. Okay, so it's like like, this person is this number, and then you go to school, and then when you come out of school you're gonna have to have perfect credit score in order to buy this, buy that, do a lot of things. And then when you go looking for jobs, what do they look for? Resume. You know what I mean? So it's all this path, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to follow, and if you don't, then, like, what you just say, you're not qualified. You're not, you know. And our country is run by elites, if you really think about it, right? So, let's say, Trump, Trump is not in that circle of elites from Yale or Harvard, or is it a lawyer or not, nothing like that. And again, like, based on a lot of stuff people share or whatnot, it's based on experience. Elite has their own experience. Like, I consider some of my family member, they are more in that category, and I'm not. So when I say something like, for example, uh, someone is, let's say, is jealous of me. Okay, put it that way. And this elite member will say, will think, what's there for people to jealous about you for? What do you have?
oh wow.
Seriously, yes. So what I'm trying to say is, um, when you are in the elite category, you kind of just box yourself in, right? Everything that as long as you're not, like, what you just say, if you're not from Harvard or UCLA, I don't want to hear from your comment, your philosophy, your theory. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's how our society kind of build up. And then, let's say January 6th, I saw the documentary, and a lot of protesters, not considered elite, they're more just like, how do I say? And a lot of them are ex people are from the veterans, you know?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. So you see the contracts in that documentary, people in the White House, they'll just have like a suit and, all that. And then they are like, just like, like, oh, I only know how to be the way that school is, like, dress up professional, but the outsider, they will label them a mob, or what is that thing called? Terrorists. Domestic terrorists.
Oh, I just read on X that one
Hmm.
of the candidates for president
Hmm. Okay.
was
And
making a statement, and he
okay.
mentioned when I first heard about January 6th,
Hmm.
I thought it was something very major in terms of, well, let me rephrase it. It's not what he thought it was in the beginning.
Okay.
He heard, the headlines and news outlets, whatever, social media, uh, television. He was saying that he was reading all that, but as time went by, and this was just this morning, he
Mhm.
realized that some of the things that they're saying are not adding up, and it's
Yeah.
starting to look like it's not the way it was reported in the beginning. Have you come across many instances like that? I mean, it's not just the one. Is what I'm trying to find out from you with getting your notifications and what
Oh,
you're following.
right. Yeah. I personally don't watch traditional media since February of this 2023. So you know, so I don't follow the news anymore, the traditional news. And but what I do know for January 6th, there's a lot of they call it conspiracy. And but based on what watched that documentary on, there's like for example, there's a part that the Capitol Police is calling out to for assistance. Let's say for the state police, okay, or the next Virginia State Police for assistance, and whoever picked up the phone on the other end, they they reply, "Ah, they're not available, no assistance." And then one even call out to National Guard, okay, then they all say the same thing. Oh, National Guard is not available right now. Don't you think that's kind of odd if this is a big deal? and then
Right.
and then like the Capitol is got attacked and National Guard is not even response? How scary is that? if you really think
Right. No, there's no one picking up the phone.
yeah.
Right.
But on the other hand, why is this happening? I mean, right? You know, there's two sides of it. One side, as a citizen, oh, how scary is that? What happened to our security in this country, right?
And
So,
it's just you have a valid question. I mean, it's just
yeah,
something that you think about. It's like, what happened? Is that true? Did
yeah.
they really not answer?
Are they
And when did
really
they
not
call them?
available?
Right?
Yeah, or are they not really available? you know,
And how could that be? Because they are supposed to be, the Capitol Police. Everybody knows the Capitol has been around for hundreds of years, and that's a well guarded place. I mean, they have
right?
fence around it. You ever see that movie White House Down? Or that was they got a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what's tricky about the what the documentary show me is like that was spring, right? 2021, January 2021. So there's still a curfew, so everyone has to go home, stay at home after 6 p.m. So funny thing is when the time comes to the curfew time, like around five something, oh, Virginia State Police come by assist. Oh, the National Guard finally arrived. How many? I don't know how many hours is that after. Well, that's I don't know. That doesn't add up. And that if this is if those police those National Guard really not available for this many hours, then
Now, I cannot
then I don't know
confirm.
what should I say about this security. So
I can't confirm this. I going on memory, so I may be incorrect. But wasn't there a similar situation with what's happening over with in the Middle East, where the Israeli command center was down for like 6 hours? And it's like, what happened? That is supposed to be like the highest. You mentioned the elite of the elite of the
right.
world, and they were down for 6 hours. How does that happen? Right?
Yes. There's a lot of question. Throughout history, there's some events are very questionable, like including the JFK assassin. The one guy pulling off doing that assassin. Is that possible? you know what I mean? Without any, you know, other group assist or other um, country per se, right? Because I know from what I learned, because I'm not born in that era, but I do, watch a lot of documentaries, and JFK is very out there. He for his time, right? He wanted to do a lot of things, and he won't even want to bring, about aliens and all. Uncover the aliens incident, and then want to go to the moon and create this space travel and everything. Yeah. So,
I've heard, I don't know where I've heard this, but maybe someone else had heard this.
mm,
They're comparing Donald Trump to John F. Kennedy.
yes,
Not, you know, line by line, but overall, he wants to change things, is what
right.
they're talking about. And I'm like, have you heard of that, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I did heard that somehow as well. I forgot where. And yeah, because we, like I mentioned, our country is run by the elite, and that post that I post about MTG, my friend challenged me about understanding of a U.S. Constitution. Okay.
Oh,
And,
before you go on,
yeah.
you know what I heard the other day?
Hmm.
That if you know the Constitution,
Hmm.
you're not a good person. You're not a good citizen.
I don't know, but she was very proud, very glad that she studied the Constitution. But for me, maybe, of course, I'm not, fully knowing the whole Constitution, but
Well,
I do know is
I'm
there's
not
a
picking on that person, but if you know the whole Constitution, then many people should know that some of the things going on right now have nothing to do with the Constitution. And
yeah.
because we're even mentioning the word Constitution, this segment could be flagged because
Um,
they do not like people who know the Constitution because they know the elites are doing things without
mm,
approval of the Constitution.
that's right. And
And if you know the Constitution, then why did you let it happen? And can you not change it back? So if you
right.
say you know the Constitution and all this is going on, it's like I know ignorance is not a good example, but there's a lot of people who don't know the Constitution, but they know, hey, something's not right. I don't know what it is, but something's not right. You can
Yes,
feel it.
right. And from the layer of just bare bone, the understanding of Constitution is freedom, right? Freedom is one of the heavy, how do you call that this country stands for, right? And from what I when we were talking about that structure, we call it matrix, is I question myself, is there really freedom? You have to be in a certain grade, certain school, certain credit score, your resume, even down to your appearance sometimes, right? You have to
Well,
dress certain ways, and
there has to be certain rules. I I agree with that. Doesn't mean I like them because some of the rules I don't like. But we were talking about sports and even politics. There are certain things you need to do before you
right.
go on to the next level. Like
I,
we mentioned real estate. You need to get a real estate license before you go out and sell a
ye-
home, right? And that's normal stuff. I mean, that isn't anything
yes, that
to hurt anybody, right?
yeah, I'm not against that, like, traffic rules and all that kind of rule. Yes, I agree, but what I was saying is people take it so black and white. You know,
Oh my,
either if you're not this way, then you're not. That's just what I
isn't
mentioned.
that funny? That's how
If you're not this way, then you're nobody. You see what I
that
mean?
reminds me of a story I read, and I don't remember where I read it. But
Uh,
when you're younger, you grow up in a black and white world. You're learning. You're 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. You're learning about life,
right.
and everything is, black and white. And I recall a story where this young boy, five, maybe four
Mhm.
years old, walking home with his mother.
Yes.
And there was a lady that his mother knew, and she was gardening. And she saw them coming, and she had her shears, gardening shears, and she took her shears and put them in her little pocket in her gardening smock pocket. And there's a big pocket, so the gardening shears disappeared. And they're big, right?
Uh-huh.
So the little boy, and he mentioned this as he got older, he said, "Oh my goodness." For whatever reason, he thought he needed to stay away from that pocket
Ah,
because if I go in that pocket, no one's going to see me again. And it
yes.
was just a thought. It was a black and white thought. Now you see it, now you don't. I don't want that to happen to me. But that doesn't mean that was right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes. A lot. Well, kids are born very, just like a blank sheet of paper. So what the parent or the school teach them, it gets into their, like I mentioned before, the subconscious mind, and then they will have that imprint in their head, in their memory. Then when it comes when they face something similar, then their fear, or our brain is made to protect us, right? Either fight or fly situation. Yeah.
What you call that? Is that the ego? The ego, right? The ego,
Yeah. The,
right?
the,
If you
the,
feel threatened, your response is to threaten back.
or run
Or you
away.
get mad, you yell, you raise your voice, or you're right, you just turn around and walk away. But if you just turn around and walk away, you might be able to, avoid saying things you didn't mean. That is
Mm,
number one thing. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Of course, once you say it, you cannot unsay it. But
yes.
what a lot of people say, especially in politics, oh, I misspoke. Well, then why did you say it?
Oh,
Right?
because yeah, yeah, words has power. That I recently, you know, really went deep into every word people speaks or told. Like, it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, it always has power. And then most importantly, what are you talking into yourself? That's has a major power of who you become, and who you be. So let's talk. Go back to the system, elite system. So what happened? So the media is telling the story. Oh, January 6th is a bad event. So everyone have to be scared. Everyone has to be, watch out, right? And who causes, according to the media, Donald Trump. So he's a bad person. So it's so funny that people talk about racism, you know, online a
Right,
lot.
right, yes.
Yeah. And what's so funny is another post targeting me, make fun of me as a Jackie Chan. Okay. And then I respond, well, it looks like that person is the picture. I don't know if it's that his real or real picture or not, but he seems like a darker skin. So I said, well, if this comment is coming from a non-black African American person, then we'll call him racist. So which means you don't want people to call you that, make racist comment or make those kind of statement, but why you're doing it to other people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
a tough one. That's a very gray area, not black and white, right?
yeah.
Very
So
gray.
yeah. So that I think I find out that's very funny, including the MTG post and my she mentioned about racist as well, and I'm thinking in my head, what do you know about races? It's talking to me about races, right? Yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
sometimes it could be something like you don't like the way the person talks. And if you react negatively, depending, if you're from a different area of the country, different area of the
mm,
city, even or the state,
right.
you'd be considered, oh, you're anti this, you're anti that. And he goes, no, I just did not like the way the person said it. They were dictating to me. They were giving me a lecture, and I don't. Number one, I know people do not like to be lectured to. Don't tell me what to do, right?
Yes. So, but like I said, the elites who runs our country likes to tell people what to do. That can also include school education. They came from elite background, from UC this, UC that. So, in the sense that our education, looking at our education, I don't have kids, but I do know looking at our education 2023 is pretty, very, very outdated in a way, and especially in today's technology with AI, everything moves so fast. Let's say I'm 18 and I went to in a college and I picked my major. Let's say um, computer science or some sort of app designer. And when I graduate 4 years later, I might this position might not be available anymore because AI can build a
I
app
heard of
for
that.
you.
I
Yes.
heard of that.
Yeah. So
Yes,
that's
yes.
that's another thing. So we let the elite run the country, but are they really,
And
smart enough?
sometimes the timing is off too, because I overheard this conversation. I was on my way to work, and I was taking the train at the time.
Hmm.
And it was a time, I forgot what year it was, but I'm sure if we go back, there's a pattern there, right?
Yeah.
Where sometimes when you graduate from high school or even college, the job market is just not there,
Yeah.
right?
After 4 years.
Yeah, it's just no one's hiring. Doesn't matter what it is. The time that I was the conversation I was overhearing and what I observed too, two different things were attorneys and
Hmm.
engineers. And attorneys and engineers is something that you have to dedicate time, money, and resources to graduate. And the reason you do that is because you want to have a good job when you graduate,
Right.
something that can sustain you, right? So why not? That sounds good. If I can get in, if I can do it, I'll do it, and then I'll graduate. But the conversation was an engineer.
Hmm.
He could not find a job in the engineering field that he had taken. And what I'm getting at is he graduated from college, let's say 2020.
Hmm.
But if you do not get a job within 4 years,
Mm.
you're the
You
when
devaluate.
people look at your resume and say, "Oh, we see a gap here.
Hmm.
What's going on? What's
Yeah.
happened?" And
Yes.
they don't care about there's no jobs because you didn't do anything. And it's like, no, you don't get it. I was looking for something in my field, and it just didn't happen. And of course, what's the other one that a lot of people talk about, the mental issues? Hey, I got depressed for a few months, and then I wanted to go relax for a few more months, and then I went back to my mom and dad, and I was just relaxing, and I just had to relook at my whole life again, and it took me a few years. Hello, excuse me. That's
Yes.
what's wrong with that. But sometimes, like you mentioned, they look at it and they say, with the way they say it, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I see you have a gap of 3 years, and you're like, I'm trying to be honest with you, but
What
then
ab
you're taking that honesty and turning it around and making me feel guilty. Like, did
Yes.
you not see the news? Do you not know what happened? Hey, the whole country shut down.
Yeah.
What could I do? But it's like, oh well, we see that you did not work for 3 years. Hello, hello.
Yeah, what about this one? Like, piggyback what you just said. Just recently graduate out of the college, out of the UC, and they go apply for a job and they don't have experience and they go into the interview and people tell them, we're only looking for somebody who has experience.
Oh, that sounds like I've been hearing that for a long, long time. Yes,
So
it's that vicious circle, right? I
the
can't get a
person was
job
thinking,
because I don't have
yeah,
experience. I need experience. Just hire me and I'll get the experience. And it goes in a
exactly.
circle, and
Yeah.
it's really a hamster wheel or a It's not. It's very frustrating,
it,
extremely frustrating.
I'm just surprised that whoever's HR people or hiring manager is not thinking there's a problem here like this. You know, how can people get experience if they don't even get a chance?
And
Like,
unfortunately, sometimes it's not even the HR because you have to look at the industry. And many times, we were talking about real estate and I was talking about attorneys
yeah,
and the economy. Many, there's a boom in this certain industry. This
right.
industry took a hit. It could be the HR person's, oh, they know we're going to have to lay off in a few months.
Oh,
So they want to have somebody who's, at least knowledgeable. But the ironic part about that is going back to no experience.
mm-hmm,
Many times, no one likes to work for free. Why? But in terms of experience, and I didn't get this until much later. I wish I had done this during my high school or even college.
mm-hmm,
And they do say, if you can get a part-time job or some kind of learning, get a mentor or get a coach in the field that you want to get, and they can show you even some terms that they use in the industry,
mm-hmm,
right? That'll help you.
right.
I'm not. It's not going to be a substitute for experience, but at least you'll know what you're talking about. But then let's go back to the other thing. I don't want to talk. I want to do. I want to make money. I need to buy this. I need to buy that. I need to
Yeah.
go here. I'm young and I want to do all this stuff. And one of the things I don't want to insult anyone who's over a certain age, but when I was younger, my
Mm,
teens, I would see all these nice cars,
yes.
and I would always wonder why are people who are older than me have nice
Mm,
cars. Why can't the teenager have nice cars? And part of it's maturity, but part of it is, you have to be responsible in a way. And when you're a teen, there's a lot of responsible people, but responsibility does take some time and effort. And going to college does develop some responsibility, but we all know sometimes the majors are not, you know, they're
right.
not money making me. Hey, I just want to go and have fun in college, or I just want to go do something that I want to do. I just love reading, so I'm going to take literature or English or something. It's like, hello.
Yeah, but it's very interesting when you say that because I learned communication art in my college, which is including TV, film, and radio. And back in 1990s, it's not a money making, a thing. And but today, YouTuber, Mr. Beast, Joe
Oh,
Rogan, how much
right,
they make, right?
right.
So it kind of what that was like almost 30 years ago. Yeah, so it's very interesting. And what do you think about since we're on the car and luxury? What's your thought about capitalism?
Capitalism
Mm-hmm.
is like anything because depending on who you talk to, it's a different definition for capitalism. And even if the person knows the definition, he might be using it or she might be using it for personal reasons that are not very benevolent,
Right.
right? They're just thinking self interest. So when you say, oh, I'm going to be capitalist and it's self interest, it's not going to work. It won't work. It can't.
Yeah, I heard. Well, we kind of go back to the elites or a little bit politic. Bernie Sanders wrote a book, damaging capitalism. Okay, but the funny thing is, he wrote that book to sell it. Isn't that capitalism? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it
If he wrote it and give it out for free, like he always said, for
yeah,
free, everything, then
yeah.
then
Well,
he
one of the things, let's see if I'm following along because it's like
okay,
the principle. We
right,
all want to get a good job. Whether you go to school or not, you learn a skill, you go to school, you want to get a good job. Why do you want to get a good job? So I can make money. And
Yes.
then, of course, the better or higher skill level you have, the more money you make. Why do you want to make more money? Oh, I want to take care of my mom. I want to support my family, or I want to go on trips. But you want to go first class, right? I
Okay.
want to go first class. I want to have a nice car, one
Yeah.
that starts up in the morning. When I press the button, it'll start up. Not, oh, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
But see, in order for that to happen, you have to not think, oh, if I have money, or those people who have money are not good people, because you have to turn around, because there is a good chance that you're going to have money. And if you're going to have money, you're a good person. It's just that person, or that individual, or even that corporation, because the corporation is individual too. Now, in law, they may start out with good intention,
Hmm.
but somewhere along the line, it turns into being, oh my goodness, I can get more. Or what's the other one that a lot of
They
people like to use?
become greedy. That's
They can become
or-
greedy, and you don't know you're going to get greedy until you have the money,
yeah. So
right?
a lot of, well, like I mentioned, I mean, I'm not trying to be putting label, but seems like my personal experience or view, more elite are what we will call it having a good life, right? They got everything right set up for them. They just have to do their thing. And there's another portion, hustler, grinder, and these people can, can be successful too, like PBD, who else? Steve Jobs too. He got fired, and his invention at first nobody cares. So all these people, even Jeff Bezos back in the 90s, nobody believed he can sell books out of his garage on the internet, right? So all these, so there's two group of people. So I believe what you just said, some might be crossing over to this side, elite side, but elite will always stay at the elite side if you really, think about it. And on this more like entrepreneurship side, a lot of people, been through a lot, they know how's it feel to be broke and how's it feel to be rich on both sides. So they have different purpose, they have different goals than the elites. You know what I mean? Elites might be, I want to have power, like power meaning like controlling kind of type of power. But on the elite side, oh, I want to help the homeless. I want to help the community. I want to build a church or build some school in Africa somehow. Something
You
like
know,
that. It's
and
different.
I understand what you're saying, and I think if I can sum it up,
Yeah.
there's a common saying, and it can be under any industry. It could be music, um, books, art, sports, politician, even an influencer. You mentioned podcasting. Sometimes people write about you, and they say all these wonderful things, or even they say bad things, right? But
Mm-hmm.
number one thing is, don't believe what you hear, whether good or bad, because two
Right.
things will happen. If it's good, you're going to get your ego is going to be inflated to such an extreme that you think you cannot do anything wrong,
Mm.
or you can become so depressed and have so much anxiety because of that one person who said something negative, or multiple people said something negative, and you get depressed and you can't, oh my god, I can't believe that person said that, what did I do wrong? Those both are extreme cases, but you have to be balanced, because in order to
Yes.
manage it, and part of the being balanced is part of being responsible. Self responsibility is huge. But if you got someone keep telling you, "Oh my goodness, you're doing such a great job," and you're like, "Oh my God, that's right." So when you go to talk to someone and say, "Hey, what do you think?" They say, "Oh, you're a piece of what." You're like, "What? What just happened?" And
Yeah.
oh yeah, that person doesn't know what they're talking about. But maybe they do. You're just being, what did they call them before? Yes men. You were just surrounded by yes men. People who always said, whatever you say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, you could do
Hmm.
no wrong. But not knowing you're going down the wrong path.
Yes, and that can kind of come to a conclusion that inflated mindset or thinking or ego can also apply to establishment. For example, Blockbuster. We're too big. We don't need Netflix. What are you talking about? We don't need to buy that. We are too big. And then they look at what happened. And another example recently is Disneyland. Disney is kind of like in that edge right now,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard about that.
and yeah, and I just recently read about Bucky Fuller has a saying like when the things from starting from small become big, and then some other person can be a business, it can be an industry, will come along indivisibly and knock off the big one. So he gave the example, Titanic, big giant ship, right? It won't sink, right? They say that, and
Okay.
then what happened? It sink, and then that's what applied to the Fuller saying that shipping, ship industry is gone after that, and it become airplane for travel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of stories like that. One of the most recent ones that I observed was, we have USPS, United States Postal Service.
Yes.
Then we have FedEx, right? FedEx, hey, the post office is doing a good job back then.
Hmm.
And then FedEx came, and it's like, well, why are we going to use FedEx? We already got the post office. FedEx thrived, right?
Yeah.
And there's UPS, there's DHL, and then now who do we have? You mentioned Jeff Bezos. Now we have Amazon delivery. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, was there room in the market for them? When you first look at it, oh no, because it's saturated. But they came in and they thrived. Look who made Jeff Bezos one of
Yeah.
the wealthiest men in the world, not just the U.S. Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I think what happened is sometimes, like you mentioned earlier, when they first start, they want to have this mission statement, whatever you call it. And then long term, when they got big, they forgot about it. For example, the blockbuster one is like late fees, right? I mean, if you late for certain days or several weeks, it's like $70 some.
Oh yeah, the late fees. Yeah.
And then the customer get upset, right? Yeah,
Yep.
and same thing with these days. Like I heard a lot of story about Uber. Uber driver is the person, the people that make this business happen, and they don't. When the driver got into a car accident because of doing pick up riders, and then what happened is Uber just disabled them.
Yeah.
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 Or if someone who encounters sexual assault while in the ride, either driver, they will disable them too
You know,
without, I
we're
think this is
we're talking
nonsense.
about. We were talking about, or I mentioned law, right?
Right.
You ever see that Lady Justice, um,
Who?
where um, she's wearing a blindfold, right? You see her wearing the scales. She has a blindfold on,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes.
right? So she
Yes.
cannot see. And you
Yes.
mentioned AI cutting off and I mentioned, I say it's AI because it's a computer system that cuts you off. There's no one you can call and talk to. So
Yeah.
AI, the program in AI is written, hey, when you see this accident automatically cut off, that's blind. That's the AI being blind, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
what I'm getting at is it's so black and white that, oh, you need someone to come in there. That's why maybe we can discuss this later on about AI. I think sometimes it's the intention of AI, depending
Mm.
on how it's written. If it's too black and white, it's going to be destructive. But if you put the human elephant element into it, you'll be able to, adjust. And I think you mentioned this before. you need to flow like water, because sometimes you're going to be changing shapes or changing careers or changing
Yes.
locations in your life. You cannot just live in the same house your whole life. I mean, you can. If that's up to you, that's great. But
Right.
if you want to do something else, you have the option to do it, right? You want to
Right.
give yourself the option, and you say, hey, today I chose not to move. Even though I can, I decide to stay
Choose.
here. That's
Yes.
a difference between saying, oh, I can't move because I can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. So you're stuck. So you have to be careful, because sometimes the AI can make a person stuck.
Yeah.
It doesn't
AI.
have to be like that, right?
Yeah. AI. I compared to this to our brain. So AI is basically kind of like currently I know is like it scattered the whole entire internet, what has been put out previous. That's why ChatGPT at the very bottom it says, "Oh, this information only accurate up to, let's say, today's day." You know what I mean? So, but it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't know if it's a true or false. It just scatter everything and take the information to answer your questions or whatever you ask it to do. So that's kind of like our brains, the subconscious
And
mind,
it's not
right?
just AI. It's even something as, I don't want to make AI a bad thing, because I don't think it's a bad thing, but it can be used as a bad thing. It's
Right.
almost like, let's go basic, where people are talking in a room, that telephone thing, right? You
Yeah.
whisper in someone's ear, okay, repeat it. And if there's 10 people, by the time it gets to the 10th person, it's a completely different story or a
Yeah.
different version of the
Exactly.
story, right? It could be two
Right.
men, and then at the end, it's two women, or one woman, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
the intention, and it's the what that person's thinking about, or what's going on in their lives, and it gets kind of twisted a little bit. And even though AI is black and white, it gets twisted with the communication, whether it's AI or human to human.
Yes, because you people can do this as an example. You can ask AI, ChatGPT, same question. Okay, take that question and ask it again. Let's say tomorrow or a couple of days later, it will spit similar answer but different. There's difference.
Oh, really? I did not
Yes.
know that. Really?
Of course, yeah, because like I mentioned, they scatter around the whole
Wow.
internet. So, and then there's the data, like I tried this in the very beginning. I said, give me some information about mortgage, okay, and they didn't give me the today's mortgage information. Give me a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but if I do it today, again, that same question might be more up to
Okay.
date,
So
close
you
to
really have to
today.
be careful. Yeah, it's like when talking to someone, even though someone, hey, do you understand what I said to you? Oh, yeah, I got it. I got it. And then the next day or the day after, hey, what did you do that for? Well, isn't that what you wanted? He goes, no, I did not say that. You, right?
Yes. So, but I heard there's a quantum, like the quantum computer can really tell what's true, what's false. That's in the future. I'm not a scientist, I don't know, but I do know, like like our brain, subconscious versus conscious, quantum, and then AI.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole new
That's
topic.
the only topic.
And then,
Yes.
what is subconscious? What is conscious?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So thank you for listening and watching. Making sure you subscribe to the channel so you can come back and listen to what
Don't forget the ding,
Jesse
ding,
have to
ding.
say. Ding ding. Okay.